The beloved faces of our gang, also known as the Little Rascals, brought joy and laughter to generations. But behind the innocent charm of this classic series lies a haunting trail of tragedy. Many of the child stars who once lit up the screen with their mischief and humor met untimely and heartbreaking ends. In this video, we look back at the real-life stories of these young actors, their rise to fame, the struggles they faced after the spotlight faded, and the sad fates that followed. From sudden accidents to personal battles, their stories reveal the darker side of early Hollywood. Join us as we honor their memories and uncover the truth behind the tragic deaths of our gang stars. Peggy Cartwright was born on November 14, 1912, and played the role of the sensible little girl in our gang in 1922 at the age of 10. On screen, she radiated charm and maturity beyond her years, often portrayed as the level-headed contrast to the boys' chaotic antics. However, Peggy's Hollywood path was abruptly halted when her father uprooted the family to Canada, fearing the corrupting influence of film life. Though she briefly returned to the stage in London, she never regained her screen presence. Behind her polished image was a woman marked by an invisible trauma, the grief of losing early fame, and perhaps relief from escaping a system that later destroyed many peers. Though there were no public scandals, whispers among theater circles spoke of a bitter temperament, fragile confidence, and years spent fighting depression. She chose a life away from the spotlight, nearly vanishing from public memory. Peggy Cartwright died on June 12, 2001, in Victoria, Canada, at the age of 88 from natural causes. Ernie Sunshine Sammy Morrison, born December 20, 1912, stepped into our gang in 1922 at age 10, becoming the first black child actor with a long-term Hollywood contract. His performances, marked by charisma and comic timing, broke barriers but came with a steep emotional toll. Constantly subject to racial stereotyping and industry condescension, Ernie fought an uphill battle for respect. After leaving the gang, he found fleeting success in vaudeville, but behind the scenes, he was often underpaid and overworked. He refused to join the Bowery Boys due to racist scripts, a choice that cut him off from further film exposure. Privately, Ernie struggled with being typecast and admitted in interviews he felt discarded once producers had used up his innocence. He never married, and while he worked in aerospace later in life, he remained frustrated by how Hollywood forgot him. He died of cancer on July 24, 1989, in Los Angeles, at 76, having never received the full credit for breaking Hollywood's color barrier. Jackie Davis was born April 5, 1914, and joined our gang in 1922 at just 8 years old, portraying the aggressive troublemaker and on-screen rival of Mickey Daniels. His character was scrappy and often confrontational, traits that bled into his real personality. Off camera, Jackie was reportedly difficult, known for bullying younger cast members and mocking studio staff. When his sister married silent film legend Harold Lloyd, studio heads believed Jackie's rising attitude was becoming a liability. He was quietly removed from the series and sent to military school. While he later became a respected cardiologist, Davis never returned to acting, having reportedly expressed disdain for the film industry in private letters. He was estranged from several family members, rumored to have had bitter feuds over inheritance and career choices. Though his adult life appeared stable on paper, close friends suggested he always carried the resentment of a fame he believed was stolen from him. He died of respiratory failure on November 3, 1992, in Santa Monica, age 78. Monte O'Grady was born March 6, 1916, and began appearing in our gang shorts in 1922, just 6 years old when he first stood before a camera. Though his character was minor, a background kid with a sweet face, his life would be defined by quiet disappointment. Monte worked steadily as a film extra for decades, but never escaped anonymity. His attempts to break into larger roles were consistently blocked, sometimes by studio politics, sometimes by his own temper. Behind his gentlemanly image, Monte was known on set for harboring resentment toward more successful co-stars and allegedly clashed with casting directors. A loner by nature, he never married and was estranged from family. Former colleagues said he lived in a modest apartment filled with old call sheets and rejection letters, as if haunted by what might have been. Though no scandal was ever made public, there was a sadness to his story, one of lifelong obscurity after an early taste of fame. Monte died on March 8, 2000, at 84, of natural causes. Mary Corman was born on December 27, 1915, and joined our gang in 1922 at the age of 7. She played Mary, the gentle, graceful centerpiece among the boys, often the object of Mickey Daniels' affections. On screen, she was elegance in a world of mud pies and slingshots. But behind the camera, Mary's life grew turbulent as she aged out of Hollywood's favor. Once touted as America's sweetheart, she was discarded by the industry by her early 20s. Her failed reunion project, The Boyfriends, was panned, and rumors swirled that she had conflicts with producers and suffered a nervous breakdown. She married 2 men, one a domineering Hollywood animal trainer, and lived under his shadow, with friends noting she became withdrawn and emotionally fragile. She never had children and battled periods of depression, likely exacerbated by the early fame that had been both a gift and a curse. Mary Corman died of cancer on June 1, 1973, in Glendale, California, at the age of 57. Mickey Daniels was born October 11, 1914, and debuted in our gang in 1922 at the age of 8. Instantly recognizable with his red hair and raspy laugh, Mickey became the face of the series. But behind that energy lay a darker path. As a teen, his career stalled. He couldn't find work that matched his childhood success. Desperate and disillusioned, he bounced between low-paying jobs and began drinking heavily. His alcoholism worsened throughout his 20s and 30s, eventually leading to failed relationships, public outbursts, and periods of homelessness. Once known for his charm, he became infamous for bar fights and was even arrested for disorderly conduct in the 1950s. He reportedly attempted to re-enter showbiz multiple times but was turned away due to his erratic behavior. Friends describe him as a tragic figure, brilliant but broken. He died alone in a rundown San Diego hotel on August 20, 1970, at age 55 from cirrhosis, a stark end to one of the series' brightest stars. Alan Farina Hoskins was born on August 9, 1920, and began his role in our gang in 1922 at the astonishing age of 2. His character, Farina, started as a racially caricatured role, but evolved into one of the most enduring and expressive figures in the series. Yet Alan's life was a haunting tale of early fame turned into systemic neglect. Despite appearing in 105 shorts, his transition into adult acting was sabotaged by deeply embedded racism in Hollywood. By his teens, roles had dried up, and he was allegedly promised but then denied a role in a major MGM film due to studio prejudice. He suffered depression and was briefly institutionalized after a breakdown in the late 1940s. His relationship with his sister Janny was marked by tension and competition, worsened by their parents' controlling behavior. Though later honored by black cinema groups, Alan spent most of his life in obscurity, struggling financially and emotionally. He died of cancer in Oakland, California, on July 26, 1980, at the age of 59. Joe Cobb was born on November 7, 1916, and played the role of the original fat boy in our gang beginning in 1923 at the age of 7. His character was endearing, naive, and always ready to bumble his way into trouble, becoming an icon of the early shorts. Yet off-screen, Joe quietly endured the consequences of being typecast for his weight. The role that made him famous also made him a target for ridicule, both in the press and in public. As he grew older, he struggled to shed his childhood image and never found serious acting work again. There were rumors he attempted to audition for adult roles and was turned down due to his size and speech, leading to bitter resentment toward the industry. Joe reportedly became withdrawn in his later years, rarely giving interviews and distancing himself from fan conventions. His private life was intensely guarded, though some suggest he battled with food addiction and depression. He died on May 21, 2002, at age 85 from natural causes, leaving behind a legacy both sweet and quietly tragic. Lassie Lua Hearn was born on June 25, 1920, and joined our gang in 1924 at the age of 4, known for her charisma and musical talents. Her characters were bubbly, talented, and unusually polished for a child, often performing dance numbers and physical stunts. But behind the charm was a child thrust into Hollywood's ruthless machine. Reports suggest Lassie's parents pushed her relentlessly, allegedly forcing her to perform despite illness and exhaustion. As she aged out of her roles, she found herself shuffled from vaudeville to low-budget productions, always in pursuit of lost stardom. There are whispers she was coerced into appearing in risque pre-code films as a teen, and that her family clashed bitterly over control of her finances. Though she reinvented herself in old age as a nostalgic speaker at fan events, sources say she never forgave her parents for stealing her childhood. Her long life masked decades of quiet sorrow. She died on February 15, 2018, at age 97, from complications related to influenza, never truly escaping the shadows of early fame. Scooter Lowry was born on December 19, 1919, and joined her gang in 1926 at age 7, portraying the mischievous Scooter with a streetwise edge. On screen, he had a rebellious streak and charisma, but off-screen, he was even more volatile. Accounts from set suggest he was combative with directors and once destroyed a camera prop in a fit of rage, leading to his abrupt dismissal from the series. Afterward, his life became a haze of obscurity and whispered scandal. Known to reinvent himself under aliases, he dabbled in vaudeville, shady business ventures, and was reportedly arrested multiple times under different names in Miami. There were even allegations, though never confirmed, of involvement in small-time racketeering during the 1950s. His family severed ties with him, and he lived the last decades of his life as a recluse. His true identity was debated for years due to conflicting records. He died around May 1, 1989, in Miami Beach at age 69, largely forgotten, his once famous face now lost in the haze of faded photographs and scandal-stained anecdotes. Johnny Downs was born on October 10, 1913, and joined our gang in 1923 at age 10 as the fast-talking, confident toughie. He was a standout performer with a natural flair for leadership and comedy, but his polished image masked deep ambition that sometimes veered into arrogance. As he aged out of the gang, Johnny transitioned into college musicals and B-films, but backstage stories paint a different picture. Allegations of clashing with directors, refusing to take notes, and being disliked by co-stars. One insider claimed he tried to manipulate screen time by rewriting lines on set. Despite this, he managed to reinvent himself as a local TV host in San Diego. However, rumors of a failed business venture, 2 secret divorces, and a brief stint in rehab during the 1950s circulated among those close to him. While the public saw a squeaky clean showman, his private life was marked by personal instability and a longing for the spotlight he once effortlessly held. He died on June 6, 1994, at age 80 from cancer, his legacy more complex than his clean-cut image suggested. Mildred Corman was born on July 10, 1925, and appeared in our gang starting in 1926 when she was just 1 year old. Cast in 21 shorts until 1935, she was often relegated to the background, a decorative toddler compared to the starring gang. Although she later reinvented herself as high-fashion model Ricky Van Dusen, her early years were marked by jealousy and pressure. Living in the shadow of her more famous sister Mary, Mildred harbored deep resentment toward her parents, particularly her mother, who allegedly diverted her earnings and micromanaged her appearance. While her modeling success brought glamour, insiders whispered about her reliance on prescription pills and a rumored affair with a married fashion executive that led to a nervous breakdown. She reportedly underwent numerous plastic surgeries in an obsessive attempt to escape her child star identity. Though she remained poised in interviews, close friends noted her fragile mental health and years of therapy. Mildred died on August 19, 2022, in Washington at age 97, her death attributed to natural causes. Harry Spear, born Harry Sherman Bonner on December 16, 1921, joined our gang in 1927 at age 6. As the wisecracking redhead, he played the gang's brash comic relief. However, after leaving the series, Harry rejected his past entirely. He vanished from the public eye, legally changed his name, and even threatened to sue fan clubs who published his address. Some former co-stars alleged he had a short temper and accused him of bullying on set. After a brief attempt at vaudeville, he was reportedly arrested in the early 40s for involvement in a gambling ring, though court documents were sealed. Neighbors in San Diego described him as secretive, unfriendly, and prone to paranoid rants about being followed. Allegedly estranged from his family, he lived off disability checks and refused any royalties from the series. Despite fan efforts, he never attended a reunion or gave a public interview. Harry died on September 22, 2006, aged 84, of undisclosed causes, his final years cloaked in isolation and mystery. Jean Darling, born Dorothy Jean LeVake on August 23, 1922, joined our gang in 1927 at the age of 5 and appeared in 35 shorts until 1929. She played the wide-eyed, innocent blonde, often the moral compass amid the group's antics. But behind that cherubic image was a tightly controlled existence orchestrated by a domineering stage mother. Jean was forbidden from playing with other children, and once confessed she didn't know how to ride a bike until adulthood. Though she found acclaim on Broadway with Carousel, insiders described her as perfectionist to the point of alienation. Her marriage to Reuben Bowen was riddled with rumors of infidelity and controlling behavior, with Jean allegedly fleeing to Ireland to escape him. She was known to fire assistants abruptly and had a reputation in later life for being difficult during interviews. A stash of unpublished writings revealed her simmering anger toward the studios that exploited her youth. Despite her cheerful public persona as Aunt Poppy, she lived her final years in quiet estrangement from family. Jean died in Rodgau, Germany, on September 4, 2015, at age 93, from undisclosed causes. Bobby Hutchins, born March 29, 1925, played Weezer in Our Gang beginning in 1927 at just 2 years old. On screen, he was the mischievous little brother, cute, breathless with excitement, and always trailing behind the older kids. But behind the scenes, Bobby's childhood was anything but innocent. His father, James Hutchins, reportedly pushed him aggressively into the spotlight, clashing with studio staff and allegedly sabotaging Bobby's screen time with outbursts and threats. Some cast and crew whispered that Bobby's role faded due to his father's volatile behavior. After being dropped from the series in 1933, Bobby's acting career vanished. Rumors circulated that he was blacklisted due to his father's interference. His teenage years were lonely, far from Hollywood glitz. He enrolled in the military in hopes of escape, but fate struck cruelly. On May 17, 1945, at just 20 years old, Bobby died in a mid-air collision during a flight training session, shockingly, just one day before he was due to graduate. His Hollywood star had burned bright and vanished just as quickly, leaving only questions and silence. Norman Cheney, born October 18, 1914, took on the role of Chubby in Our Gang in 1929 at age 15. With his round frame, bashful grin, and brilliant comedic instincts, he was adored by fans, but suffered in real life. Off camera, Norman battled a debilitating glandular disorder that caused extreme weight gain. His fame didn't shield him from cruel teasing, even from other child actors, some of whom reportedly mocked his size on set. After leaving the show in 1931, he underwent a dramatic and dangerous weight loss procedure that shocked his body. His once thriving persona disappeared along with his weight, leaving him frail and unrecognizable. The transition devastated him emotionally. Hollywood no longer saw him as marketable, and his brief career ended in silence. Norman died on May 29, 1936 at 21 from myocarditis, his heart literally giving out under the pressure. His grave remained unmarked for decades, forgotten by the very industry that once celebrated him. Dorothy Deorba, born March 28, 1925, took on the role of Echo in Our Gang in 1930 at just 5 years old. On screen, she was clever and sassy, known for repeating the boys with a smart twist, but few knew how much pressure lay behind her charming performances. Dorothy's mother, a stage hairdresser, was reportedly obsessed with maintaining her daughter's image, crafting elaborate curls and bows daily while pushing her to always look perfect. Dorothy hated the endless hours in the makeup chair and privately expressed that she never wanted to be famous. When her career ended abruptly in 1933, she was discarded like a faded prop. She struggled to reconnect with a normal life, and later admitted to feeling lost and used up by age 10. Though she eventually found modest work off camera, she never returned to acting and avoided public appearances for decades. She passed away on June 2, 2010, from emphysema, her early Hollywood years reduced to distant black and white reels. Jackie Cooper, born September 15, 1922, became a household name when he joined our gang in 1929 at age 7. As a smart, sentimental leader of the group, he stood out with genuine emotional depth. But Jackie's real-life path was a masterclass in surviving child stardom. Pushed by his ambitious mother and a showbiz-obsessed uncle, Jackie was shuffled from one set to another like a commodity. At age 9, during the filming of Skippy, legend has it that a director threatened to shoot his dog to make him cry on cue, trauma that haunted him for years. Despite becoming one of the few child actors to succeed as an adult, Jackie wrestled privately with deep resentment toward the industry. He later confessed that fame stole his childhood and that he often felt used. Still, he managed to pivot to directing and held executive roles in television, finding structure in Navy service. He died on May 3, 2011, at 88, but never forgot the scars of being a child star built for profit. Who is your favorite character in our gang/Little Rascals? How do you feel knowing that the actors have passed away? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos. Thank you so much.